All right. Good evening, everyone. We are back for another open court discussion, live in the Counselor's Corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor. Joining me is my co-host, the Big Bad Wolf, Herb Lewis.
Oh,
We on one tonight, and we also have a special guest. He calls himself the Old White Guy, Greg. A lot of times you'll see him in the chat, so he's joining us tonight. So tonight, Monday, August 4th, we will be discussing the topic, the tired truth, Black fatigue in America. This complex, multifaceted topic has sparked intense debate and conversation across various platforms. As we explore the concept of Black fatigue, we'll examine the various perspectives and experiences that contribute to this topic. We will discuss several factors to Black fatigue, such as perceived destructive behavior, crime, violence, and antisocial behavior, ghetto culture, a set of behaviors and attitudes that are perceived as negative, such as an arrogant desire to destroy what others built, racial narcissism. Some people believe that the emphasis on racial identity and unlimited uh, in, in victimhood can lead to a sense of entitlement and a lack of personal responsibility. So, as far as lack of personal responsibility, such as maybe single parenthood households, or the fact that this was a study from, I guess, from the FBI, says that Black America makes up about 13% of the population, but commits around 52% of all homicides. So let me stop there because I can go on and on about this deep and frustrating topic. So please like and share our video, and don't forget to tell a frustrated individual to tell another frustrated individual to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. Um, we are still, actually, we're sitting at 961 subs. So what's up, people? Wake up and let's go. Are you suffering from fatigue? So at 961, 39 away from 1,000. We've been chasing that number for a while, but sometimes things go nice and slow. So I think we've just been nice and slow and steady and consistent. And sooner or later, we're going to knock down that door. But we're here tonight. And Big Bad Wolf, you got any housekeeping information or any updates for the people?
yeah. Well, it's gonna get a bit dirty, if you will. People, we always talk about health, and I'm big into personal health, so no more chicken and pizza wings after the show. Pickle spears, and I got some cherries sitting up here. Got my new drink. I'm not necessarily advertising or promoting. I'm just simply saying we 50s now. We got to start treating our bodies a little bit better. If you haven't, if you have, kudos. But I had a colonoscopy and it didn't go well. I didn't clean out. Now, for those of you who've been through the process, you already know what it entails. Sometimes you got to miss work. I ain't rolling in money. Sorry, I missed the bigs. I need my ducats. So anytime I got to miss work, it hurt the bottom line. And they want me to reschedule, and I'm just like, no can do I. I'm like Hall and Oates. I cannot go for that. So at 53, I'm gonna roll the dice because the first time I had it, they sent out some polyps. They came back negative for any cancers, and they did what they had to do. The last two times didn't go well. So I'm gonna tell my doc, I appreciate what you do for me. I appreciate what you got to do, but I gotta sail on down the line. I gotta get my money right. We'll come back and visit this situation because I understand what their concern is, and rightfully so. My mother had colon cancer. She survived it. She went on to be 84. If I'm gonna follow that footprint, I'm okay. So, along with my age and ethnicity, especially for us black men, colon cancer and prostate cancer, those are things we need to be aware of. So make sure you get those yearly checkups and things of that nature. especially if you cover with your work medical. Go ahead and get that done, man. It's nasty, it's grimy, it's uncomfortable. But so is living a truncated life. So go ahead and get that done. The stitches are still in. Hopefully they come out the next 2 weeks. But I can't let that stop the show. I got to do what I can with one hand. But that's about it, though. Picking up some hours. The next 2.5, maybe 3 weeks, I'm going in like a tunnel rat in Vietnam. And if I see you on the other side, I'll see you on the other side. If I don't, play taps and keep it moving.
Greg, do you got anything you want to say before we get going?
No, just that I've been watching you and Herb and Haslin Herb for 2 or 3 years now, and I enjoy the conversation. And last week I felt like I was dominating things through the keyboard, and so I wanted to get in and talk this week. And it's a good topic because I believe that the Black community and maybe the white community have slightly different descriptions of what Black fatigue is, and so I'm hoping we get into that.
For me, just again counting down. Summer's pretty much a wrap. I guess they've been putting out back to school stuff like probably the beginning of July, so now it's hitting home, and I'm like, I think I said last week, or I told a coworker, it's like an older athlete getting up, trying to go through training camp, or a boxer just getting older and trying to get 2 more paydays, but got to go through that training camp. So that's how it feels for being off for most of the summer, because prior to that, I pretty much always worked 12 months. So I didn't know what, I felt like I never missed a beat. I was always in there. I would have, vacation. I would work probably a week, then have some days off, then work a whole weekend. I used to do it like that, but now I'm being off totally, except for a few days here and there. It's hard to get up for it. It's hard to get up for that challenge at the double nickels. So,
Yeah.
but I still got it. I still got a little left in the tank. Well, I probably got a lot left in the tank, but my mind is just elsewhere at this current time. But speaking of Black fatigue, I think originally when they had the statement, it was Blacks dealing with all the shortcomings that we went through, like the racism and probably being underemployed, lack of opportunity. So it was kind of wearing down Blacks. They were fatigued with this whole process of not probably being able to get ahead because we felt like we were at a disadvantage. Well, I could say we, as far as my forefathers and my my elderly people in the family, but I guess we went through some of it too, probably not as much. But people were tired of it and just trying to go against a system that probably wasn't. We didn't have no advantages, so it wore people out. And if you ever had the opportunity to talk to like your grandmothers, your great grandmothers, or aunts and great aunts, they tell a story, and it's kind of amazing that some of the things that they said they went through, and you got to give them credit for the mental fortitude to be able to go through that, because we start having it a little easier. And now our children and nieces and nephews, they definitely have it a lot easier. But then there became another perspective of Black fatigue, and that's when certain Blacks got tired of other Blacks, the ones that they call the N word, and getting tired of their behaviors. And like I mentioned in the introduction, the destructive behavior, the crimes, the violence, just ruly behavior in the neighborhoods, just kind of destroying the morale of certain communities, the school environment, and people just feeling that they're entitled. And a lot of that word really surfaced with the Carnival Cruise and how they had made separate rules because of that. And, people who say they worked hard and couldn't wait to go, on vacation to be on the cruise, really just want to go there to relax. But they felt like it was certain black folks that was going there and just doing too much, just going overboard. And it's probably a little bit of every ethnic group, but I think it was highlighted by the blacks. So you see a lot of videos and stuff, people on TikTok talking about it, and they're just, tired of the loudness, the rudeness, and the entitlement, and always blaming the white man or the white woman for this or for that. So it's leading to fatigue in other areas. Herb, you got anything you want to add to the black fatigue issue?
Yeah, man. I mean, like you said, it's not just coming from the outside. It's getting to the point now, where people like myself, and I touched on it a little last time. When I said there's a quiet war going on where the black folks are looking to separate themselves from the niggas. And people may not like it. They may think it's offensive, but people are tired of being labeled or mislabeled by the behavior of those who lack decorum, think that everything's about them, and think that the behavior doesn't need to be scrutinized or analyzed and broken down and say, hey, look, that's not appropriate. If you want to do that type of stuff at home, by all means. But once you get into the public where you have the potential to be seen, observed, and potentially misdirect or give the improper impression to somebody, you need to be called out on it. You need to be checked. Whether you think it's appropriate or not, whether you think somebody can do it or not, doesn't matter. People are just, they're tired of the wretched, they like to call it ratchet, but it's wretched behavior that a lot of people are doing. It's not just necessarily black folks, but since we're talking about black folks, we're going to keep it right there, like a storm cloud that's not moving on. Some people go, because it reminds me of the clip. And I can't remember where the clip was posted at. And I said, Black America in a nutshell. Now, I was trying to be half funny, half serious, because a lot of things that we do as people, it ends up being culturally identifiable. Some people will say, well, that's not just black people, yada, yada, yada. Hey, newsflash. I know black people's behavior is not a monolith. So if somebody says something about blacks and it doesn't include, it's not inclusive of you, you don't need to respond to it. Just move on. All you got to do is say, you know what? I hate when I see that kind of behavior because it gives us a bad name. I hate when I see this. I hate when I see that. Black men have been having to be dealing with something like that for generations. And the ones of us who don't fit that notion, we don't say anything. We just look around and say, hey, look, that's them. You want to address them? Address them. It reminds me of I was going to N-Trip and I was taking it was a gender rules course. Now, me and my other man, shout out to Chris Cross, we were the only two black people in there. Never mind male or female. So when the professor was talking about something that had to do with blacks and black men, they were turning around and look at us as if we were the guilty parties. We would just say, why are you guys looking at us? We don't identify with that. And they were shocked. It was like, what do you mean? They're talking about black men and black behavior. We said, yes, we understand that. But just because we're black men and that's what they're talking about doesn't mean that we do it. And it was a shock to them because most people, if you're not born into the neighborhood, you don't grow up with them, you don't know a lot about them. And you don't know a lot about the culture. Now, you can call that cultural ignorance or whatever the case is. That runs the gamut of any ethnicity in this world. If You don't hang out with certain people you don't know. And that's not wrong. It's not right. It's just what it is. If if I go to an upscale restaurant and I don't know the proper uses of cutlery, people that do, they're gonna look at me kind of funny. They're gonna say, "Well, he's out of place here." The same way that Jack was on the Titanic when he got invited to dinner, and Mrs. Brown said, "Hey, look, you don't know what you're getting into." She knew, she understood, so she kind of said, "Hey, look, this is what you do. Follow my cue." Some people don't have that, and that's not wrong. It's life. So for the people who want to take shots at Caucasian people who they say they don't know, as opposed to taking shots at them, teach them. And if you don't want to teach them, shut up.
So that reminded me of thought when you said when you was in school, because I remember I took my major was social science, and my teacher, one of the greatest professors, shout out to Dr. McGlynn. Our next, and I probably spoke on this before, our next lecture was going to be sort of probably talking about social economic status, and it was a lot of it was going to be geared towards blacks, poverty, racism, and I probably was the only black person in the class at our university. So I remember after class, we had left, and me and her just happened to be, I was walking ahead of her, and she said, "Hey, David," she's like, "So, I think my class is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday." She's like, "Well, the class Wednesday, we're going to get into some heavy conversations about social economic status, and a lot of it, I'm going to mention, about blacks and poverty." She says, "So I want you to feel comfortable. So I want to kind of tailor the lecture that you will feel comfortable." And I kind of looked at her and I said, "Teach it how you normally teach it." I said, "You ain't got to change things for me." And she was like, "Are you sure?" I said, "I'm positive. I'm built different. I can handle this." And then she was like, "Okay." And she went on because I'm pretty sure her lecture and that probably was the same. There's no need to change. People change sometime, but the content and information is still gonna be the same. So I probably saved her some time, uh, have to recraft it and to do it like you've been doing it. And then ever since that, when I told her that, I just had she just had a different respect level for me. I mean, she was one of the people I could use for a reference. She actually invited me to her house to come pick up one of my recommendation letters, gave me a tour. And I just remember her back in the days, I wish I had a picture of the old like Apple computers. And she was like, "This computer right here, David, will always forever have your recommendation letter on here." She's like, "Of course, I'm going to upgrade it, but you will always have a recommendation letter for me on there." And I just, thought that was big. And after a while, when I started working, I didn't need her for a reference, but she was very, very interesting. And I've shared some other stories that she reached out to me about this one young lady that I was talking to, and she found out and she mentioned my name. And she emailed me. She probably was out of line for doing it, but I guess she had that much trust in me to say, "I don't know who this woman is, but she says she's your girlfriend, David, and she's nothing like you. And I hope that's not your wife of the future. You never came to class late. You were always on time. You were always respectful. You never missed class. And she can't get here, and she's always late." And she was like, "And I know I shouldn't say this, but David, I hope this is not the one for you." And I was kind of bold to put that out there. Like nowadays, if you did that, you probably would be. She'd have probably lost her job.
Yeah.
Emailing, but she gave me what she felt. I believed in her word, and I just said, "Hey, I'm paying close attention." And that's that was kind of that. That story always kind of amazes me how times have changed. But
I mean, yeah. And Greg, you and I often talk about, especially with some of the examples you've given me of the things that you've seen. And I believe, and if you can, go ahead and add to this fabric.
I'm just, my thought right now is the idea that a lot of people like David and the professor and stuff are intelligent enough to understand that the cultural groups are not monoliths. You said that early in the chat tonight, Herb, and that something that applies to part of a group doesn't apply to all of a group. And I just wish that everybody was that intelligent, because we have situations where people are saying all blacks are this, or all whites are this, or all liberals are this, or all Trump voters are that. And it just, there's so much difference between all the individuals. And yes, there are a couple groups that we're talking about, I'll say the well-behaved people within the black culture and the not so well-behaved people within the black culture. But even within those groups, there's a lot of diversity in how bad the behavior is versus is it just borderline, or are they actually well-behaved, that sort of thing. That's my thought right now.
Yeah, good. Because with a lot of people, and it's unfortunate that our culture, and I know this happens in other cultures because I've seen it. I see it, I work with one of my coworkers who catches hell sometimes from people who believe he's one ethnicity but he's another. And like I told my GM when we sat down, I said, I thought I caught hell from my people. I said, he catches more hell than I do. And I said, I feel bad for him. So I know, that exists in other cultures. And it's unfortunate that people are branded, and it's not by people who are outside of our culture, it's by our own. Some people call black people who do things that they perceive shouldn't be done a Uncle Tom. They'll call them a sellout. Same thing happens with the Caucasian race or ethnicity. Middle Eastern, Native American, why you marrying her? Why you dating him? Why you doing this? Leave them people alone. They ain't no good for you. They were perennial this and that. And it's just like, yo, as black people, we are literally, if we're looking at all the generations from 1865 to current day, we are 165 years removed from the end of the Civil War. That's essentially, if you're looking at 20 years, that's about 8+ generations. Now, I'm not saying we need to forget the past. I'm not even pushing that. What I am saying is we need to understand where our forefathers were. And like David mentioned earlier, the path that they blazed and the things that we should do and should have done to continue that ascension. Somewhere along the line, we stopped trying to climb. And it seems like we stopped trying to improve. And it seems like we're trying to regress. Why? I have no idea. But one thing's for certain, I am not trying to live the lifestyle that my mother and father, my aunts and uncles live. I'm not trying to go back there. This is why I steadily try to improve every day. This is why David and I encourage all of our listeners to get better. Go make more money. Go get better educated. Go do this, go do that. Whatever you do, make sure you are better than you were the day before. Some people don't feel the need to do that. They say, why? Nothing's going to change. We're not going to improve. White supremacy ain't going nowhere. You know what? White supremacy don't have to move. It really doesn't. And as far as I'm concerned, it's never moved. This has always been what it is. However, that don't mean because you're in last place in the race, you stay in last place until you die. Nah, that means move your ass on up. You out of shape? Get into shape. You ain't making enough money? Go find another job. Go increase your skill set. Go do anything that makes you better, that makes you more employable, that allows you to make more money. Stop blaming the system. I'm not saying the system's not without flaws. But hell, there's no place in this world that you're going to go that the system is perfect. Because the system is created by humans who, by their very nature, our very nature, we are imperfect. So find out how you can be better in an imperfect society, fill that niche, create that groove, and play that record till it breaks. The needle don't play, the sound don't audibilize. Do it.
For me,
Yeah, I know last week you gave a long list of Black people that had overcome the system.
Mhm.
And it seems to me like if I could encourage every Black individual, it would be pick somebody like a Sidney Poitier or a Ben Carson or a Clarence Thomas or whatever as your hero, your person that you want to mimic, and model the things that they did to try to overcome all the system and things like that.
see, for me, one of the things is with I know kids, young people, they study everything, they peep out everything, uh, but again, we always talk about this the sensation or the overexposure of some of the images that they see that trumps regular normal people. When we were younger, we would see older guys or women the way they move, and you would know that that person was, they are right. Like when I get older, I want to be able to drive a car like that. I want to be able to have a job. Um, I want to have a job like that. And it would just be regular individuals, regular dads coming home from work, lunchbox. And I talked about that last week. Uh, Working and probably working in factories or whatever the case is, but you knew that they had a certain lifestyle and it was about their family, and you would kind of look to them and you would respect them. Uh, this generation we have now is kind of a lost art that they don't distinguish or don't see anything different uh, unless you they know that you got money, and that kind of drives their respect level um, for you. Even and on the school, a day-to-day basis, they when you're talking to kids, they kind of look at one of the things, the way that you dress, and they be like, you'll drip or whatever the case is. But if you're not to their standards, then they're not going to have respect for you, unfortunately. And they often ask, well, you guys can't make that much. You're a teacher or whatever. So y'all know y'all broke. And they'll say things like that. And but the thing about it is, like for some of us, we snap back. We snap back. And like, yo, we not gonna let you, we gonna hold you accountable for the things that you say. And I'm gonna hit you on your head and make you understand. Yo, don't talk reckless like that to me. And where not everybody is able to do that, but a few of us I know in my school building are able to do that, and they'll know. Man, I guess I probably should be mindful what I say to this individual because we don't. And you could say, well, I'm gonna call my brother, call my father, hey, go get him. I'm here. I'm here. And that's just how that is. But one of the things when I think of black fatigue, and I always talk about this, and I always talk about Section 8, where people, they're on the Section 8 list, they get an opportunity, and say, for example, here in Baltimore, uh, there's Baltimore City, there's Baltimore County, and some of the people, they're coming from the city, and they get an opportunity with Section 8 to move in the county, and they there's no, and I don't know because I'm not there. But based on what I see and observe, it seems like there's no free conversations or talks like, listen, we're moving somewhere else. We got a better opportunity. You're going to go to a better school. You're going to have a better surrounding and less, probably less violence or less chaos. Oh, man. They just come and they just make that, they make that, whatever that neighborhood, whatever it was, with whether it's a good, upstanding neighborhood that people work, mind their business, able to enjoy their home, enjoy their community. If you get three, four, five of those families going, they make it where like it was where they was
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
And that shit is so draining and so tiresome to have to deal with that. Because you're at the point like, well, you really can't say anything to these kids because they don't have no filters. And you may have a couple kids like, and I know I used to would say something, they were like, and some of the kids like, yo, that's an OG. Yo, chill. And they must identify like, yo, he ain't coming at us wrong. So just chill. So you know that they got a little, as they say, home training. Little, somebody told them something. Some of them other, I always remember this story. Getting out the car and some little girl, she had to be like 10, 11, just twerking, and just rolling her little body and all that stuff. And just happened to get out like, what the hell going on here? And then her friends like, yo, stop, yo, and then yo, stop doing that. And she was like, she kept doing it. He shouldn't be looking. And and I'm like, unreal. Just had to keep rolling. See, back in our days, our people wouldn't have let that ride. They would have been somebody would have been checking that little girl all up in her face. But as a man,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I can't. She can have that. Keep on twerk yourself to the night, the strip club when you get older. I ain't even gonna acknowledge it.
And people don't realize how far that behavior and that mentality stretches. Like David said, prior, somebody would pull that young girl's coattail and say, hey, come here, look. You don't do that. It's not appropriate. That no longer exists for a myriad of reasons. One, if a man does it, he's looked at as being lecherous, looking at her like that, like he wants to actually do something with her when he's repulsed by the behavior. So when that kind of behavior comes with people, regardless of their ethnicity, it depresses the community value. Now, when I say community value, I'm not talking about how people look at the community. I'm talking about home prices. So when families have worked their lives to get out of unideal situations to move to more ideal situations, as David said, along with that comes prosperity. So you move to a place where a home median value 50,000 to where your median value is 250,000. That's $200,000 you've lost when you go to sell that property. You think people aren't going to be upset? Oh yeah, you motherfucking right. They're gonna be real upset. They're gonna say, "Hey, look, yo, I don't work all my life to come out here, so to have you people, however that comes across, destroy my property, destroy this neighborhood. If you want to be like that, take your ghetto ass back to where you came from," and that offends some people. And you know what? If you take $200,000 out of my pocket, I'm gonna let you know. Hey, look, this ain't the place for it. Wherever you are, or wherever you came from, pardon me, you need to go back there and take that behavior with you because this is not that kind of neighborhood. We don't raise our daughters to be like that. We don't want our sons to have to be exposed to that nonsense. Like David said, take that shit to the strip club when you get older, or inside your house, but we don't want to see that. We don't care if it's on your front porch. This is not that kind of community. And it offends a lot of people. You know what? Be offended, but clean up your behavior. Take that mess where it's appropriate. Inside a gentleman's lounge, inside the champagne room, but not on our blocks, not at the bus stop, not at the playground. These are family communities. They're wholesome. And if you don't know what that means, go look it up. But somebody needs to start pulling the coattails and say, hey, look, people gonna start chasing you off the block. It's not gonna be pretty. You're not gonna have allies because nobody's gonna stand there and say, hey, look, they can do what they want to. Those numbers are dwindling. Why? Because the resources are dwindling. And if you haven't been paying attention now, I'm gonna tell you now, start looking at the layoffs, start looking at how AI is creeping into just about every, and I mean every aspect of employment. So those people who sit at home and think that they're gonna continue to collect benefits, like Kevin Samuel said, winter is coming, and for some of y'all, it's already here.
All right, we got G Gavin. Anything you want to add to this conversation? Thanks for joining us.
Well, yeah. Hopefully, because I know I joined late, and I hope I do what I have to say is in context, and if not, Big Bad Wolf and David, please correct me. Um, if I understand properly, it's far gone. It's too far gone for us to say anything, do anything, have any hope. Why do I say this? Um, Brother David, the young girl you were talking about earlier, the one that was twerking, roughly what age was she?
She had to be like anywhere from like 10 to 12.
Oh my gosh. Jeez, that young.
Yeah,
Damn. All right. And when did this particular incident occur? How long ago?
that was years ago. It was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, but it always stood out, whatever, because like her friends were like, "Yo, it's an older guy," like, and she was like, "Shit, he shouldn't be looking," and just kept on doing it. And
Okay.
all I could do was like kind of snicker and just get my work bag and head in the house and like, yo, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay. Well, now here's the problem. You said she was maybe 10 years at the youngest, and that happened about 5 years ago.
Mhm,
So that means that young girl and those of her mentality are 15, 17 at the oldest.
mhm,
What do girls of that mentality see now? Two sorry examples. Example number one, those girls or young ladies or young women just saw Cassie Ventura leave a committed relationship with a guy named Ryan Leslie to cheat on him and go with a guy named Puff Daddy, gets into all kinds of things, as you know, and what does she get for her reward? A nice fat check and a lawsuit. Now you could say, hey, she got, the beat down or whatever. How, but what I'm saying is that particular girl who's now 15, 17 years old, and those like her who are now going into womanhood, how are they going to see it? Oh, she got paid. Oh, where's my check? I need to get paid somewhere like that too. If not that much, at least something. And that was already in her mind from when she was 10. Now look what she's got an example now. That's one example. The next example, goodness, Shakari Richardson. She puts hands on her boyfriend and at an airport. Bad Wolf, you ever heard that? Oh, this is the latest. You got to look this up. This just happened a few days ago. Not even last week, a few days ago. The guy, Christian Coleman, who's a runner just like her, sprinter, 100 meters. They were in an airport somewhere. They got in some kind of disagreement, and she's hitting him. Airport security rewound the tape. She's the one physically assaulting him. He never once laid a hand on her. They show in the videotape he's walking from her, walking away. She's following him and continues to wail. Now, that young lady who Brother David just talked about, again, and those who have her mentality, they're 15, 17 years old. Has Shakari been arrested? Has she been disciplined? Has anybody checked her and say, hey, whoa, you've done too much? No, no. And for those young women, or, well, yeah, I'll say young women now who are 15, 17 years old, what do they see as any kind of cause or disciplinary action in regards to those type of behavior? Nothing, or in their mind, a reward.
Yeah. No, I did
What
not know about
someone
that.
like
That's
you,
new.
Bad or Dave, have to counteract that? Nothing.
Really don't. And the thing about it is, unfortunately, a lot of things in the school, a lot of the young ladies kind of drive the issues. Again, it's only so much you can say. Whether they coming in and you like, yo, why is the, why is these kids got on these little shorts and they whole ass is hanging out and they like 12 years old, but
Because
as
of
a
their
guy,
home,
we
the
can't say nothing.
mother, the females at the female so-called at home, the mother, the auntie, the older cousin, possibly grandma. Look who are grandmas nowadays. Women in their 30s, 40s. I'm a 70s baby, born in 1970, Brooklyn, New York, raised in Harlem. A woman who was an elder, she was in her 80s.
Yeah.
At the youngest, she was in her 70s, and she was a grandmother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Case in point, I'll give you a good example for me that always stuck with me. Now, I was born 1970. I will never forget in the summer of 77, me and a couple of my buddies I'm 7 years old. We're playing in summer, summer vacation out from school. Yak, 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 yak. So we're running along and we're thirsty. It's a hot New York summer, like we have them Indian summers. And we're coming somewhere to get some juice from the local store. We're sitting down about to sit on our stoop, and the elders are having a discussion. Now, back then, when elders talk and you're nearby, you sit down, you be quiet. You're not in that part. You should be seen and not heard. All right. I'll never forget this old lady. I can see her face right now. I don't remember her name, but I can see her face right now. And she's an elder. She's in her 80s. And she switches her attention from her group, including one of them was my mother, to us. Me and my boys, my friends, were just hanging and chilling. She says to us, you guys, I want y'all to learn something. This is 77. Next year will be the 10th anniversary of when they killed Dr. King. Now understand this. They have it in for you. They have it in for you. But you hear, there's plenty of places where you could better yourself. No matter what they have in for you and try to make things tough for you, one thing you must know from my generation that we did not stand for, and you can still carry to this day, whatever you do in your life, starting for right now, as a little child for right now, whatever they say about you, you have what it takes to not make it true.
Mm.
And that hit, that slapped up out of all of us. Like, we understood where she was coming from.
That's a hell of a statement.
Boys. Yeah. He said, you're black boys. And she asked us two questions after that. You ever heard of Emmett Till? You ever heard of George Steiny? So don't think because you're little,
nothing can happen to you.
Find a way if they have it in their mind. You guys got it hard. I'm a woman. Some of you may have sisters or cousins that are female. They're girls. You all, y'all, she said y'all. She was from down south. Y'all the targets.
And you know what? To that statement, because we have so many single parent maternal raised boys, that is never communicated to them until it's too late, or if at all. And by me saying it's too late, I mean after they get to the point of being about 19, 20.
Oh, that's too long.
Yeah. Either they're pushed out on their own, or by circumstances of them having graduated high school, they're out on their own. So whichever group, they don't have the skill set to go get employment in this climate. So what's left to them, and this is something that Dr. Umar always talks about. He said what's left to them is the world of illegalities. And that only has one ending, and that's a criminal record. So then we wonder why, with the elimination of shops and schools, with the shipment of jobs overseas, and the destruction of the middle class, especially those jobs like HVAC, welding, plumbing, where black men, by and large, especially with the silent generation and the boomers, were able to make their money and support the family. They can't do it anymore. So now you have black women saying that you guys don't earn enough, and understandably so. That you guys can't support a family, understandably so. So they don't want to deal with them. So now that you have black young boys that are black young boys or older boys or young black men who are not financially viable, and you have women that aren't protected, you have what are the seeds of destruction sitting in the middle of an ethnic people, and they have nothing else to do other than just let time go by and destroy what's left. Now, as Garvin said, the women said to him, black men, you have that ability in your hand. So if you see that what you currently possess is not working, you have to find a way to improve what you have. Is it going to be easy? No, but it's never been easy.
No.
And that's not to say, as Greg would say, that's not to say you don't stop trying. Like Greg said, and I like what he said. Find somebody that you identify with, because there's no black person in this country that can identify with somebody that came from his walk of life, poor, well-to-do, whatever, and emulate what that person did. You don't need to follow everybody, just one individual, and make your way. Your friends are gonna see what you're doing, and if they're the right kind of friends, guess what? They're gonna say, "Hey, look, what are you doing? How did you get started in this? How can I get started in this? Hey, take them along with you. Each one. You get a group of you boys together, you can be like LeBron James. It don't have to be basketball. It can be any type of business endeavor that allows you and your boys to get together to create a conglomerate. And once you do that, you can do like Jay-Z said. You can come back and buy up the block. All those women that were turning their nose up at you now, they forced the couch out to your feet. Now, it's up to you whether you want to, pardon my life, it's up to you to whether you want to ingratiate them in your circle or not. I can't tell you how to do that. I'm not going to tell you why. You should or you should not. That is up to you to make that decision. I will say this. Make sure that the reason you do invite them in and ingratiate them into your circle is because they're worthy, not because they got a pussy.
There are a couple decisions that have to be made way prior to that. One of those decisions is to get a good education. The other one is to behave, I hate to say lawfully, but be smart. Don't get involved in doing silly things like twerking at 10 years old or shoplifting at 10 years old or even drug use and things like that, and set yourself up so that you have at least the potential for success. I think a lot of people, and this is all races and ethnicities, torpedo themselves as youngsters these days. And they get to the point where they're 10, 12, 15 years old, and it's almost already too late. You know, you've got 15-year-olds getting pregnant outside of a relationship. You've got 15-year-olds dropping out of school, not finishing even 8th grade sometimes. or getting through school with just, almost maybe graduating high school and reading at an 8th grade level. They don't
Yeah,
have chances for success in business like Herb's talking about.
exactly.
Well, one of the things I want to say is what's important too when I think about young males just being able to obtain their driver's license to go through that process, because a lot of that requires, like, even when you think about trades and stuff, sometimes that's a requirement, and you'll be amazed how many grown men that don't have driver's license. They can drive, but they don't have no license. And even my son, he told me, like, yo, dad, like, I'm at work. He's like, yo, he's like, some of these older guys, whatever. I was talking to him, and he was like, yo, like, oh, they don't even have a license. He's like, and they like almost 30. And I was thinking, like, wow, because I remember and I think I talked about this last week. My grandfather had told me that once you get 16, but he wasn't no teacher, so he wasn't gonna teach me how to drive. And he was like, I'll get you a car. Now, granted, when we look back at what they made and all that stuff, you're like, how is that possible? But somehow he was able to, like I said, I think last week, co-sign or make sure my aunts and everybody, once they got their license, that they were able to get a car. And I was kind of dragging on the process, but even my grandmother had paid for me to take driver's courses, like, and I think I've shared this before. So, they were slated trying to put me in the process of, okay, getting your license at a young age. So eventually you'll get a car, you'll be able to drive, and you'll be able to work, and you'll be able to date, you'll be able to do whatever. But I remember when I was taking my driver's lessons, I think she paid $15 a lesson. And back in the days, if anybody know what a Chevette was, that was the car that I was learning to drive. And it was a 80-year-old woman. She had to be about 80, was teaching me. And I'm like, damn, I can't even have no like little cute little 20-something-year-old. So I this 80-year-old woman. And we stopped at a corner. I was like, oh, please, let me make this light. So we stopped at a corner, and one of my friends looked over and seen me taking my driver's lesson. And he was cracking up. And once I got done with the lesson, I went to my grandmother and I said, we should call her Bay. I said, Bay, I don't want to. She was like, how did it go? She was all happy for me because she was willing to pay whatever to make sure I was always on track. That's why I always say she was my hero. And she was willing to pay. And she's like, how was it? And then I was like, it was good. I said, but I don't think I want to do that anymore. And she's like, well, why? I said, because I was in this car with this old lady, and I stopped and I seen, and she knew who the person was. Said the name, and and I said, and he was like laughing at me, and she was like, okay. And that's why grandmothers, the information, they were so valuable. Like, and she said, so let me ask you something. And then I was like, yeah. She said, so what was he doing while you stopped at the corner? What was he doing? I was like, walking. She was like, you're a damn dummy. She's like, you're a damn dummy. Like, I'm paying for you to get yours. You worried about somebody that's walking, but you in the car trying to get your lesson. And she's like, get your ass out here and go play whatever. Like, and when I think about this, I was like, damn, she was right. The hell, I'm worried about somebody that's in a lesser position than me. But we always was worried about our peers and stuff. But she was trying to put me ahead of the game to say, hey, you're going to be driving while their asses was going to be walking. And I stooped to their level. Stupid me.
Grandparents, especially at that particular age, is like Saladin used to say. Shout out to Saladin. You know, they are libraries. They are a wealth of information, but nobody ever wants to sit down with grandpa and grandpa and talk to them. They think because they old, they don't know no better. They don't have any knowledge. They don't have any wisdom. But what do you know about the game? And what do you know about this? And what do you know about that? It's like, look, the books was written by them. We just happen to be rewriting what they told us. But hey, look, they the originators of game. Whether you want to talk about the street game, the business game, all that comes from past generations. There's nothing new under the sun. All this TikTok and stuff. Hell, the first TikToks were the silent movies. Clark Gable. What's the other one? I can't think of the black. Yeah, they were the originals. So we not all we're doing is rewriting. We're not inventing anything. So people, you got grandparents, sit down and talk to them. Ask them what it was like when, you know, back in their days, back in their teenage days, how they attracted men, how they dated, what they did for fun. And I'm sure you'll appreciate the opportunities that you have. But, and I stress the but, you have to take advantage of them. You can't sit and wait for an opportunity to come knocking at your door. It don't work like that anymore. You got to go seek the opportunity. And if you know people, ask them. That's how I got my second job. My brother, hey, said, look, they looking for this. Put me D. I went down there. Hey, been down there a month. And never, I don't care who tells you what, never stop learning about other things. Never stop poking the door on different topics because you don't know what opportunity that door is going to lead you to. Some people don't want to try different things. Well, no, I never did that before. I don't think I'll be any good at it. How do you know? Try it. Try it. Try it. Try it.
Amen.
Because some people have gotten to the point, you know, they say, well, what's the use? And it reminds me of people when especially when they talk about voting, they say, I don't see the use in voting until something happens. And they say, well, why did this happen? They say, well, because people voted for this particular person and this person said this person was going to do what they did. And lo and behold, now you got to get the results.
Oh,
Yeah. If I knew that, I'd have. Yeah.
no, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, finish. Finish
that's
it. Huh?
No, that's it.
Okay.
And I'm sure you see that in California.
Huh?
I was going to say, I'm sure you see that in California.
Oh, California, we're going through hell right now because of Newsom and the fires and the aftermath of that.
Oh.
I remember. And then you got to remember this, and I'll say this for the record. California's about to get an ass whooping. Why do I say that? 2016, when Newsom was lieutenant governor and Jerry Brown was governor, it was put to the voters to pass a bond, a $7.5 billion bond, to improve and upgrade the current reservoirs and groundwater tanks and build larger, newer ones. That money was allocated and dispersed. So how the hell is it this year, January, we had no waters to combat those fires? California is gearing up to be hit with some serious freaking lawsuits. If you are somebody who's in law school right now here in California in the second year, I'll bet you are considering to decide, which specialty you want to go for now, because it's coming. It doesn't matter that next year, 2026, that's Newsom's term limit. Doesn't matter. He'll get his piece.
For that.
He's on the hook because he did it as governor. It's not like he was in charge of a private corporation or whatnot. He did it in the office of governor. How do you count for it? Where did the money go? It was all dispersed from 2016. This is 2025. We are about to see a ass whooping. Next year is the World Cup. What money is going to be made from that? But wait a minute. After that is the Super Bowl. And then 2028, the Summer Olympics. And if you're Big Bad Wolf, think about it. If you're a law firm in California right now, if you, Big Bad Wolf, had a law firm, owned a law firm in California, David, if you owned a law firm in California right now, would you be seeing cha-ching? Because I know two people that lost their homes. One, he lost his home, him and his wife, they had for 20 years in the Altadena fire. Another young lady, her grandparents lost the family home. And when I say family home, they had, like, you know how those old folks were, old photo albums, Polaroids, all that. I do security like you, Big Bad. And at my post, it's a commercial building in Brentwood. One of the businesses in there, one of the companies in there is a real estate company. 37 real estate agents lost their homes in that fire. And that's just from one company. Now you multiply that by all of California. Excuse me? Excuse me? It don't matter what kind of money will be made next year at the World Cup, the Super Bowl, or the Olympics. Are you crazy? Californians be cruising for a bruising.
Just to add to that, out of the people that lost their homes in the Palisades fire, and that's what, 6, 7, 8 months ago now, there have only been 100 that have received permits to rebuild.
There you go.
Only 100 families so far.
That's so you see the hurt that's going to be hitting California in the next few years. It's going to be just rolling downhill. This is done. This is going to be decades. $7.5 billion for a specific water conservation bond, and come when it's supposed to be needed. And then what about the insurance companies who refuse to accept premiums from those families in Palisades? Why? What reason? Oh, because we feel that's what you're supposed to do. You're an insurance company. You take that risk.
Right.
The people were not late in paying their premiums. They were making their payments. Like I said,
there needs to be some legal action on that.
There is going to be some legal action. In my building where I work at, there's a couple of law firms, and I'm fully aware of one of them, damn sure, has a suit. I've seen people come in for that. Oh, I'm here for the fire case. Oh shit.
Yeah, it may need federal government involvement too, though. If California's in on it, it may need the feds to help out.
But I'm sorry, so what's your name?
Greg. That's Greg Gavin.
Greg Gavin. Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, sir.
Right. Okay, so I'm here in California. Where are you at?
I'm in Iowa.
Okay. Des Moines?
No. Cedar Rapids area.
Okay. Now listen to this. When Trump was first in office, he offered a suggestion to Gavin Newsom at that time about what could be done in regards to water conservation, because, I mean, throughout the years, we were having a drought, and he just came with some kind of suggestion, not an order or anything like that, just a suggestion of what could be done. Gavin Newsom at that time pretty much told Trump what he could do with himself, and I think he tried to take a lawsuit against him. Excuse me? And now you got this? All I can say is this, and I've been telling people who willing to listen to me here in California, Kamala barely won California when she ran. Barely. California is purple right now. Come next year and moving forward, say goodbye to the blue state. California will turn red.
And if that happens, Democrats are in serious trouble. I mean,
Because
serious. California has the number one electoral number of votes. They cannot.
And-
They can ill afford to lose California like that.
but
Anyway,
look what you've done. What have you done for me lately? 7.5 billion reasons, and all them families that lost their homes in the fire and their families that are affected. You're talking about family homes that have been in somebody's family for 30, 40, 50 years. Whap. Excuse me? Kamala was thinking of trying to run for governor. She dropped out just last week. She said, you know what? No, she's not. Next year's 2026. Remember, there's about 30 odd governors up for, seats up for governorship. California and New York is one of them. And every seat in Congress is up. So next year is a big ass election year. One of the biggest, if not the biggest in its history. All 535 seats in Congress, about 35, if not 40 governors, and several attorneys general. Hello, Letitia James.
Yeah, and people might wonder, well, what does this have to do with anything regarding Black culture? One, we don't get involved enough in politics. When I was talking about that, these are the things I talk about. So, in addition to these kind of lawsuits, people are saying, well, wait a minute. Why can't we just get things passed at either the state level with these incoming governors, that because there's going to be some governors that swap positions, whether you're talking about from Democrat to Republican or whatever the case is, and say, hey, look, what are we going to do for inner city schools? Are we going to bring back shops? Are we going to bring back things that made our young men employable? So that way we don't have to worry about them competing. We don't have to worry about them going to college, absorbing these insurmountable debts that they can never pay off. These are the things that you can get in and start at the ground level with new politicians coming in. But like I said, when we hear politics, voting doesn't help. That doesn't work for us.
They
How do
have
you
no
think
plans
that's
to ever
going
do
to
that.
Say it again, David.
They have no plans to ever do that.
And this is
Don't say anything when shit gets voted by people who do get involved. Don't cry.
how do you,
Have nothing to say.
the civil rights movement, all this stuff that the boomers and the silent generation got to take advantage of was because they demonstrated. Whether you talk about nationally, locally, we hear about the massacre that happened at the Edmund T. Pettus Bridge. Why do you think that was? We know about the water hoses in Montgomery, Alabama, with bullhosing the fire department. Why do you think that was? We know about Dr. Martin Luther King. We know about Malcolm X, Nick, Stokely Carmichael, which was somebody I mentioned, H. Rap Brown, the Black Panthers. Why do you think that was? Because not only did these people challenge the status quo. Go ahead, Garvin, you were breaking up.
I'm here.
Oh, it sounded like you said something. All
I
these
think there
people
was
challenged the
background
status
noise
quo,
somewhere.
and they did it while voting because they understood the importance of it. It is a way you can redress your grievances with your government, and you can get people in there who are going to do the things that you want and, more importantly, need done. But you keep abdicating your ability to vote, which is your voice, and then you wonder why your young males don't have any recourse when it comes to job opportunities, when it comes to getting better skills to make them more employable. And then you wonder why, when they turn around, you got to put money on their books. And then the sisters wonder why, when they turn around and go to college, there are many men in there that look like them.
Greg,
Connected
let me ask you something. in Iowa and Cedar Rapids. First off, is Iowa a blue state or red?
Red, very red.
Okay. So, all right. I feel you guys are good there, and you don't see it turning blue at any time in the near future, do you?
No.
Thank goodness. Good for you. Brother Dave, you're in Bmore, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Blue state, right? And the city?
Uh-huh.
From what you're seeing now, boots on the ground, you know better than I do. How do you see any winds of change, or is it just stay the way as is, or what do you see?
I don't see much change. You see a lot of talk, but I just think that even when we talk about vocational in schools, that's just a given. Uh, but what they do is have a they have magnet schools so that they can kind of eliminate or weed certain people out, which probably is the black kids. They have to take tests and all that stuff to get into those schools. So if they're not willing to, they have a formula, a system based on grades, assessment. Now, granted, I believe if some of the black boys was able to do the assessment, they probably could get in based on that. But there's other criteria that attendance, grades, and the assessment. So it's just like when people apply to college. It weeds out a demographic area if you don't do well on it. So that's what they decided to do instead of having that universal in every school because it would make sense. So I have little faith in anything that they want to do to prevent underemployment or crime or anything. It's all game, man. This is all game. It's a big game.
Okay, Big Bad, you're in upstate New York, right?
Mhm.
Okay, same question to you. From what you see, have people learned their lesson in New York, or they just die hard blue no matter what?
New York State itself is compromised by New York City. So whatever direction New York City goes, unfortunately, the rest of the state is going to be pulled in that direction because you're looking at roughly 10 million people. The rest of the
Mhm.
state in and of itself has about 12 million people. Now, once you get north of Suffolk County and you start to go west and northwest, you encounter more Republican support because most of the rest of the state is rural, which people don't understand. Even here, until you get to places like Erie County. Erie County's more of a Republican stronghold. But you get to Niagara County, there's some playing there. Especially out, and I'll take Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls City Council is pretty much a democratically controlled entity.
Mhm.
Even with the mayor, because the mayor is just really the figurehead, the power relies with the city council because they control the purse strings.
Kind of like Chicago. Okay.
So you get a lot of that. And unfortunately, the Republicans can't break through. Now, there's some contention about in what direction the city should go. And the current mayor, Rustino, is looking to develop what he calls a Centennial Park, which will open up green space and make it more inviting for tourists and the local townspeople, which I think is excellent. But you have other entities that want to support the NFR, which is talking about putting a digital data center here that can crunch numbers for digital currency. The only problem with what the NFR is suggesting is they've had 30 years to do that and they've never done it.
Mm.
How do you stand in the way of a mayor, second term mayor now, who's proposing this in lieu of somebody who's been here 30 years, who's talking about doing something that they always had the ability to do, but never did?
Let's call Washington about that.
So yeah, I mean, there's and it's sad, man. We, for as much as, and I've been in politics since 2011. You can do the math, and we cannot get people out to vote. The last school board election, I think we had about 3,500 people vote. We're talking about in the city of about 45 to 50,000 people with about 20,000 registered voters. You're talking less than 25% of the electorate. that is poor. And the people who could benefit the most vote the least.
Now,
There's always a correlation between your voter turnout and what they have to help and assist them with their children. Remember that.
real quick, and then I'll just turn over the table to everybody once again. Big Bad. And I believe you may be paying attention to New York City. Come November, they're voting on Giuliani, Adams, or this guy, Mamdani. Your thoughts on the three candidates? You have the floor.
I will be looking to see how the city goes, man, because he's making some waves, and I'm thinking, how does he plan on paying for what he's talking about?
Oh, you didn't know? He already said it. Raise a big tax hike on these uber wealthy to pay for the free buses in the metro system, to pay for the New York City government-owned grocery stores.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, that's crazy. I said, that is absolutely insane. Hey, we're going to see. We're going to see. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the movie Brewster's Millions. For those of you who have not seen that, please go watch that movie. That is some of Richard Pryor's really, really good work.
John Candy, yeah.
Go watch that movie. It not only is funny, it's cool, but it exemplifies what Gavin is talking about when we get these, and I'll call them unconventional candidates that talk about these things, because not Ross Perot, I'm sorry, I can't think of his name right now, out of Connecticut, Bernie Sanders talks about these things, but everybody says, oh no, this is not possible. Here's the thing. We always talk about the wealth disparity between the truly 1% and the lower half. Trust Bus and Teddy, the one who developed all this, say, look, if you tax them appropriately, and some people say, look, you can't tax things that aren't monetary. Yeah, you can. You can tax wealth. Believe me, you can. It just has to be codified in the IRS. But it can be done. But guess who don't want it done? Why? Because that means they got to come off some of that wealth. And if they have to come off some of that wealth, guess what it really trickles down to? And guess who benefits? You. People like us, people in the middle class, people in the lower class, because now that money gets put back into the system like free radicals in your body. Pay attention.
Greg, I believe you had something to say regarding the New York City race and the candidates. Have you been watching it?
I am. I think that it will show the measure of insanity in that city if they. What is the one candidate is a socialist Islamic guy?
Yeah, that's the one.
Don. He's the Democratic candidate who's right now he's one of the current assemblymen from New York State Assembly. From the New York State Legislature, who was born in Uganda, and he's running for mayor. Then you have the incumbent mayor, Adams, who left the Democratic Party and is now running independent. Then the Republican candidate is a guy named Curtis Sliwa, who's fairly well known in New York City and also was the founder of a volunteer group, an organization called the Guardian Angels.
What I'd like to see is the radical leftist win and implement Sharia law in New York City for about 4 years and watch the backlash and see another red wave like we had this last election. I mean, you can't display I can't come up with a big enough word, the ignorance, the fallacy, just wow, how left can you go before sane people start reacting, right?
Woo.
I want to go back to the education thing a little bit because my mom was a school teacher, and
Beautiful.
you can talk about when a child reaches, and again, regardless of race, when they reach about 8th or ninth grade, they've either got the foundation or they don't by that time.
Mhm.
So whether there's a shop class in high school like there used to be back when I was in high school, or there's not, a child will either be able to utilize that if it's there, or they won't be able to utilize it even if it is there because they haven't achieved what they need to up to that point. And
Right.
one of the biggest issues, and this was when my mom was doing it on the south side of Indy, it's right now with my son who is also teaching here in our area, is behavior. And until you get students that behave and pay attention in class, you're not going to be able to teach them no matter how much money you throw at it, no matter what kind of computers you have, no matter what methods you use. If you can't get a kid to sit down, shut up, and pay attention, you can't teach them no matter what you try to do.
True.
And, that, and that's true. And a great part of the time is getting the class in control or under control uh, during that time. So it's about, I think it's more about matching up teachers in certain situations. And what tends to happen is once you have a veteran teacher that's, mastered classroom management behavior, they tend to go places where it's sweeter, where they get a majority of the students, are well behaved, GT students, and it's less of a problem. The issue is when teachers come out of grad school and they enter into the realm of education. Oftentimes, they're placed in situations that they're not accustomed to,
Uh-oh.
but that's where they get a job at, and they struggle with classroom management behavior. So oftentimes that they're dealing with that, and no matter what, assistant principal or the principal, the superintendent, anybody can sit in that damn class for that time, and the kids may be okay by who that or whatever they. But once that person walks out or whatever, they're back to their same tricks or whatever. So it's it's
There's
not a
there's
winning
another
situation.
issue, David. Um, has to do with, you're right about the classroom uh, management, but even when you have a teacher that's good at classroom management, and I'll say my son is, when you have a parent that backs a child that's misbehaving in a class, and even when the teacher calls them to task and takes them down to the principal's office, and that kid, their parent comes in and their parent gets mad at the teacher. And then what happens? The administrator sides with the parent, which just totally blows things away. Because that school, that child, that misbehaving child, goes back into that classroom even more empowered to do the bad behavior that they got in trouble for the first place. And I've
Well,
seen
Dave,
that with my mom, and I've seen that with my son.
so Dave, is that a similar environment in where you're at right now? If you would have taken that girl to task or talked to the mother or whatever, and you brought them for the principal, would something similar happen along that line?
No doubt about it. Like Greg
Oh,
said,
gee.
it
Oh,
happens. It
go.
happens that way, and I think that's across the board. Anywhere we don't have the same uh,
Structure.
parents that yeah. Structure is key. All kids want structure, no matter what. They deny it to them, but they like structure. They like being in a classroom where structure, and if they don't have structure, they take advantage of it. But we don't have the parents or the grandparents that say, "Listen, you're in school. this is what you're gonna do. I don't give a damn what. Let me handle that. If this teacher is doing this or whatever, let me know. I'll take care of it. But oftentimes the kids handle it and then tell their version to the parents, and the parents is gonna side with the kids. It's it's a mess. That's just the way to sum it up. So I don't know. When you said G, when you said that it's far gone, oftentimes I think it's far gone. And
Damn.
as me being somebody that's been in education for 31 years, seen it all. Been a part of every level. I don't know how many people can actually say that they worked at elementary, middle, high school, and college. If you can name 3 or 4 people, if you can't, then you can say I'm the goat of education because I worked at all those levels. It is, and nothing changes from one level to the other. It's just madness. And I don't know. I don't know the solutions. You could pay for this. You could have these people come in. You could pay for workshops. You could do this and do that, but it doesn't. It's not going to change unless you get inside the community.
Right.
And because the community is bringing these behaviors into the school. So you have to attack the cute community, but nobody's trying to deal with that. So it will always be what it's going to be. Kids who may follow the rules of school, but then when they go into their community, there's another set of rules that they go by. And that's what they deal with for most of the time. So I often just laugh and just say, man, I'm glad I'm at the latter end because I don't know the upcoming people that have to deal with what's going on. God bless them. So,
You know, that's why a lot of people want school choice, is they can at least try to maneuver their kids around away from the schools that are suffering the worst from that sort of thing.
So, Greg, your son is a teacher and your mom was a teacher, right?
Yes.
Is mom still around?
No.
Oh,
Mom was a teacher back in the 1960 to 1985-ish time frame.
Ooh. Nice.
See, I'm an old fart. I'm a 69-year-old. That's why it's old white guy. I guess it could be very old white guy.
I'm double nickel, 55. So
just a young punk. Yeah, just a young
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to me, bro.
I'm double nickel as well. So
right.
The thing I've always said this. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gavin.
Yeah, Greg. When your son became, how old is your son?
42.
So when he became a teacher, was his grandmother still around to like say, "Oh wow," and they could like talk shop, change war stories, or she was gone by the time he did?
Let's see. She wasn't around when he became a teacher.
Wow. Oh, man.
He actually went through being a journalist and to being a union electrician to being a teacher.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it took him a while.
This kid's got a good. Wait, what grade does he teach?
7th and 8th. He's a language arts teacher.
Where it's needed the most. Jeez, if those students don't realize who they got right now.
Oh yeah,
a union electrician and a journalist.
Yeah, he found out that conservatives can't exist in the media, so he gave up on journalism.
It's hard going now. It is. And there's a concerted effort to either minimize or shut down completely, especially males, conservative Caucasian males, because they're viewed as a larger problem. And this gets into the manosphere talk, which I won't do for right now. But I've often said, back when I ran for office or school board, homeschool and community. 3 things. If either one of those is faulty, that student still has an opportunity to do academically okay. However, if 2 or more of those are compromised, you can forget it. No student has the ability to overcome those deficiencies. And this is what Greg is talking about with school choice. So now, if you get school choice, what proponents of public schools over school choice are concerned about is you're taking resources away from the schools that need it the most, because the schools that don't need the tax revenue, they're going to support their own. And they're going to say, well, what do we do with these kids when most of the inner city students happen to be minorities? So it becomes a vicious cycle in which one is feeding off of the other. So this is why I always tell people, you can say you don't vote, you can say you don't care, and we'll believe you until you start to. And believe me, you are going to, because there's only so many dollars that can be allotted for education. This is why it's important. I've often, and Dave and I have often talked about the switch in the transition to a building where everything's there and you bring the student to that building, unlike just a building for education and nothing else there. They call it wraparound services. You get that student there, you get that family there. We were talking about this, Greg, and you limit that to one. We'll give you one out of wedlock child to be taught and brought up to speed. After that, you have any more, you're on your own, because it has to be addressed. No politician wants to touch that. No politician wants to be the one that talks to women or men or whoever about the number of children that they're producing out of wedlock. Why? Because they say sex is a right. Yes, you have a right to have sex. However, you do not get to burden the country with your irresponsibleness when it comes to sex. So you don't get to produce children 3, 4 at a time and have no means to pay for them and think society's supposed to pitch in and take care of them. That's not how
Hello.
that's not how this works. Sorry. If
And
you
with
ain't proving
that,
your weight,
I just call
you
it night,
don't need
guys.
to eat. I'm sorry, I said it. You're not gonna like it, but the big bad wolf ain't here to be liked. He here to be heard.
Woo! And with that, I should call it a night because I got to get up early in the morning, guys. It's been great, brother Dave. Thank you, Big Bad. Thank you,
Appreciate you
Greg.
coming
It's
through,
nice
brother.
meeting you. I hope to, engage with you further down the line. Thank you once again, gentlemen.
Yeah, take care,
Yeah.
Gavin.
Peace, brother. Yeah. if they could have that, like, and I always said that, I said, stop calling this shit schools, whatever. It's more to that. It's we take on roles that we're not capable of doing. It's
Right.
so much more. So you have to come to a mindset to say, I need all of these sectors in the school, a representative in every area. Now, they do have some outside therapists in the building, but that's only dealing with a small population. And I keep saying, you need social services, you need MVA or DMV or whatever. You need that. You need drug and alcohol counseling. You need a homeless sector and
Mhm.
all of that stuff. You need that shit lined up all across. And unfortunately, you have to have probably a spot for families that are homeless
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they stay there and the families stay there. And I know because of confidentiality and stuff
Yeah.
like that, that would play into a factor. But I always said if I had money like that, if I came across, if I had LeBron James money or something like that, that's the type of school that I would have. And I don't know. I just don't think this current way things are uh, set up is just more laughable than anything. It's just like, woo wee, like you got to be built for it. I'm built for it. I can handle it all. Like, but after a while, it becomes fatigue or black fatigue or just fatigue. Period. Like, okay, I'm over this. Ain't nothing gonna change. And that's just the bottom line. And I'm bold enough to be on here saying it. And whoever gets it, they can say, "Oh man, did you see that one of your counselors was saying this on this?" What y'all gonna do? 31 years in. What y'all doing?
Yeah, it's. I mean, people got to realize that, and just so people understand, we're not denigrating people who exhibit poor behavior when it comes to certain things. Everybody has their shortcoming. That's a given. But when your shortcomings have negative impacts on other people, it has to be addressed. No, look at it like this: the state, any territory would be irresponsible to give a driver's license to somebody who consistently drives while intoxicated, putting the communities at risk. I don't think anybody would disagree. However, when it comes to reproduction, we take a more of a hands-off approach because we don't think the state has a right to tell anybody what to do in their bedroom. Okay, you know what? You might have a point. However, when what happens in your bedroom starts to, and no pun intended, starts to spill out past your front door, onto the streets, into the schools, and it starts negatively impacting your neighborhoods, the government should step in. The government says, hey, look, you fucking up. We're not going to support this. We don't condone it. So here's what we're going to do. You get this to get your shit straight. After that, you get no more public assistance because you're a public nuisance. I'm a proponent that any public nuisance should not receive public dollars. The public should not have to pay to be inconvenienced. And that's what's being asked of the public. You don't like it, like I said prior? Too bad. I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm here to wake you up. I'm here to get you to say, okay, you know what? I've reached the point in my life where I'm called an adult. I need to start behaving more responsibly, less irresponsibly, and less recklessly. And if not, I unfortunately, whatever I create, have to pay a price. And that price might be like a support from state and federal officials in terms of monetary or foodstuff support. Because that's the only way you really teach people a lesson is by cutting off the spigot. And when that happens, guess what? The alarm bells start to go off. They say, okay, wait a minute. We can't get away with this shit no more. We need to figure out something to do. We gotta stop doing this because it's no longer productive. They ain't paying me to have 4 kids and sit up here and not doing anything. This is why people are up in arms. Because Trump is saying, hey, look, you have the physical ability to go out and work some, go work some. It's that simple. And I'm not in disagreement with it.
Well,
There should be.
We always say people never change unless they feel uncomfortable. So as long as they're complacent and they're comfortable, they will ride it out. They will say, hey, I'm not going to work a job. You hear people often say, well, I don't can work so many hours because my taxes come. I don't want to, I can't work this much so I could be able to get this amount. What a mindset to have that you were waiting for a short window of time to be able to get 10,000 instead of making that throughout the year for your family. But until something changes as far as that and people feel uncomfortable, there will be no change. Why? Because most people are complacent in what they do. And you don't make change until you start feeling uncomfortable.
Need to be consequences and accountability.
And when there's not, then people will keep riding out the way that they do things. So it's just simple. So, but from people on the outside, that's why they are fatigued because they're busting their ass, doing what they need to do, and they don't get no breaks. But it's draining. It's draining. It's to the point that some people are like, man, I just want to be isolated, displaced, that I don't even want to have to deal with no one else. But these people are probably people persons like that. They enjoy people, but after a while, they say, man, I want to isolate myself. I'm over it. It's crazy.
I think it's interesting, David, that you put a limit of one. Yeah, there needs to be some accountability. I know I mentioned at one time one of the states, and I think it was Minnesota or Wisconsin, and this would have been back in the 90s, put a limit on the size of the child support payments and limited it to 3 kids max. Because it used to be the more kids you had, the bigger the check got. And they stopped it at 3 kids, and guess what magically happened? Right? People stopped at 3 kids, right? So if you limit that special school room to just 1 kid, then you're going to have 1 kid, and that'll be it, hopefully. But that won't stop it. It might slow it down a little bit.
Well, that's all you can really hope for. I mean, like I said, no one's expecting humans to not engage in human behavior. Sex is a part of human behavior. What you want is people to be more responsible with their behavior. And when you start to send out messages uncloaked, straightforward, that look, this is what's going to happen, you're going to get a response. Guaranteed. Now, who knows what the response is going to be? Who knows how the response is going to come down the pipe? But guaranteed, you will get one. And people are going to say, okay, wait a minute. I can't afford this. We can't afford this. I'm not going to let a child of mine starve. And say, wait a minute. I don't have to have a child. So let's do this. Let's do this and let's do that. And those who survive will thrive. And those who don't, you need him. You didn't need them. Society can't benefit from them. I've never seen a society that rises off the less intelligence, shall we say. It's never happened.
So let me segue back to the original topic. What's the solution for black fatigue? I mean, it seems to me like we've kind of talked like the problem's so big that it's almost impossible to overcome. Is there a solution?
That solution's got to come. Unfortunately, it has to come from people that look like Dave and I. And until we start to kind of police our own and say, hey, look, what you're doing, we don't need. What you're doing has to stop. The unfortunate part is there's not enough of us who are doing right, who are willing to speak out for fear that there'll be a cultural backlash. And when I say a cultural backlash, I'm talking about the people who support the right of those to be irresponsible to be irresponsible. When we get a sea change and a shift, a mental shift, that's when you'll see it happen. Who knows when that's going to happen? And the question is, will it be too late?
Can the other communities, like the white community or the Latino community, are there things that we can do to help?
No, because you don't support the behavior in any way. You don't support the behavior financially other than through the taxes. And you don't support the behavior by replicating the conditions of it. In other words, even though there's a discrepancy of how many black men have sired their children of black women, I think there's a 10% discrepancy. It would be different if Hispanic men and Caucasian men were impregnating black women to the tune where 50% of those children were born to those ethnic males out of wedlock. Then there would be a crossroads at which we can say, hey, look, y'all got to start fucking our women. But you think the women are going to say that? You think the women passing up that dick?
I was thinking more along the lines of creating a environment in social media or outside in real life where things that were unacceptable back in the boomer or the silent generation become unacceptable again, at least in public, shaming people, if for lack of better terms,
See,
is it's if that little 12-year-old girl gets shamed a little bit by somebody, is that going to result in a change, a positive change in the end?
see, when I look at all this, and even if we go back to example when you see most of the stuff talking about black fatigue, about the cruises and all that stuff. Well, I guess Carnival tried to make it easy for everybody to be able to take cruises and all that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
if things wasn't set up that certain people who they had kids and they belong to all these government programs, if things were made uncomfortable for them, you wouldn't be able to have, like I said, if you pay regular rent or mortgage like other people did, you wouldn't have you wouldn't have anything left. If you didn't have all of these different programs. So I think that's where the fatigue comes in, because some people work hard.
Yeah.
They work hard
Yeah.
to have a vacation and they want to be at peace, and they're paying with their actual dollars and all that stuff. And when other people are manipulating and all that stuff, and then you see all these different behaviors coming, like, why are they here?
Yeah.
How did they get here?
Yeah.
Because people that work want relaxation. They don't want drama. They don't want rowdiness. So it's made too easy for them to live the life that someone who went to school, paying loans, doing this and that, working hard, getting certifications to live a good life. But then you look back and say, why did I do that shit? When these same people who haven't done shit are still at the same place that I'm at. They're enjoying the same riches. In fact, they even moved into our neighborhoods. Because so it's a systemic thing as far as that, and unless something's changed again that you made uncomfortable, listen, you have 2 years to be able to do this. If not, I don't know what to tell you, but you have to look at your children in the face and say, damn, we don't have nothing to eat. We have nowhere to go. And if you don't, somebody in your family may have to help you, because other people who've worked hard do not deserve to have to pay their taxpaying dollars for you to be around them and misbehaving. I'm sorry. People may say it's harsh or whatever the case is, but you don't say that until somebody does something, maybe to your property, or your family member's gunned down, or you on a vacation and somebody from your family gets hurt because it's a brawl or whatever the case is. People have to be uncomfortable, and people have to work hard just like everybody else, because people are given different opportunities. People may have less, but you're still given opportunities to make a change. And some people are comfortable with what they're getting, and they do that, and they get all the perks that everybody else get. And that's where the black fatigue kicks in for the people who work extra hard, working overtime, doing this, want to have a family vacation, and then they get on there and they say, "Oh, whoa, wait a minute. What did they get here? Why are they here?" And it's not trying to act like you're better, but you're like, damn, shit, I make, they may say, I make 120, 150,000. My wife making good money. We got 2 or 3 our kids here. Then you got them. And they are here like, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? And it can't be that way. It
Yeah,
can't be that way. It can't.
it's even worse than that. I can remember a time where we made some significant changes in order for my wife to stay home and raise our 3 kids. And at that time, we were doing without cable TV and without cell phones. And at that point in time, it was about the time they introduced giving cable TV and cell phones to um, minority groups. I poor people. I shouldn't say minority. Poor people. And it's like I'm doing without that to save enough money so I can take a vacation this year. And the government is giving that for free to somebody that has done nothing, absolutely nothing to deserve it. And it's like, yeah.
And that's the problem. And that's the problem. You see it all the time. And they're not gun shy about it. They posted it on social media that they're going all these places, and you like, how? So
Well, you know they ain't working.
Yeah.
And it's draining to people that put in the work or whatever. It's kind of discouraging. Like, I went through all this and maybe I didn't have to do anything because they're getting a free ride. And unless that change, unless they feel uncomfortable, everything will continue to be what it's going to be, unfortunately.
David, could I talk about black fatigue from the white perspective? Because my black fatigue is a little bit different than what you have written about. I understand yours a lot better just based on the last few minutes. But when I think some of us in the white community talk about black fatigue, it's that we're tired of the little boy crying wolf, the black person crying racism or systemic oppression, or, especially when somebody like Oprah starts talking about how tough she had it. Because I can guarantee you that every middle class person alive, regardless of race, has had it tougher than Oprah had it. And yet, you'd think that she suffered more in her childhood and her adulthood than any other human being in the U.S. We just have gotten tired of that. We've gotten tired of being called white supremacists and racist whenever we try to have discussions like we're having tonight. I'm sure there are people out there that would call some of my comments that I've made tonight racist, even though they weren't intended to be at all. And so we get tired of the excuses for the bad behavior, of the acceptance of the bad behavior. Things like the Carmelo Anthony thing, where he skipped school and took a knife to a track meet and kills a boy for telling him to get out from under their tent. And that being widely accepted by, I would say, it seems like from the outside perspective, a large percentage of the black community backs what he did. And so that to me is kind of my quick definition of what black fatigue is. It's the crying of wolf that systemic oppression and white supremacy and all of that has created such a bad situation that blacks will never overcome it, no matter how hard they try.
And that's and your perception is your perception, which I'm not going to argue, because there is situations, a lot of it, that people may feel that way, that you keep and we kind of touched on that you keep blaming other races for your mishaps, but you have not done anything to change it. And it's hard. It's a difficult battle, because you're going to always have those people that, as you say, cry wolf, or or whatever the case, and people kind of lean to their narrative or their story, and nothing seems to change. So I don't know. Like a lot of it is, are we ever going to have the answers for this? Because the way stuff is set up, some things are set up state by state, county by
Yeah.
county, like
Yeah.
different rules and different regulations. So, and then some people get smart with it, like, well, if I can't do it here, shit, I'm just gonna move over to this town and this area because I heard you get more benefits if you move to this. So nothing's aligned, and it's just a battle. Sometimes we had these conversations, but you may say deep down inside, will anything change? You only can hope that you can reach out to some people and say, hey, I heard what they said, and I want to try to do something different. But
Well, I'm thinking that the Department of Education being sent back down to the states for local control is a good step in the fact that maybe some of the states can do a great job and set up as an example for other states to follow, assuming they're smart enough to do that. And also that it gives people an opportunity, as you said, to kind of migrate to where the better things are going on. I think about the exodus from California right now, and probably the upcoming exodus from New York as being examples of some good things that might happen.
yeah, I mean, it's hard for us to control that factor. And again, it all is about people going out to vote and doing what they need to do. But for some, and the ones that we say that's fatiguing everybody else, they feel like they ain't got to do a damn thing to change because everything is playing into their favor. So they'll ride it out to the end. Um, Again, until they feel uncomfortable. Unless you start taking things away or removing certain things, and then that's when they realize, okay, I got to hold my kid accountable for this. Oh, I actually got to get a job. I got to work 20 hours a week. Oh, I can't have these little parties or barbecues every night in the summer because shit, I got to get up and go to work or whatever. It's just so many little things. And again, like I said last week, I'm monitoring the time because I like to clip it.
I was going to say 2 minute, 2 hour warning.
I hate to run off, but it makes it easier for me because I like the way that it's they break it down and kind of label everything because I think we all made some salient points throughout this thing. And before we would just be talking. Now I feel like, okay, we're being held to the fire. we got a time limit.
I don't mind personally. I think it compels people to be concise. So people are just getting up here just no, get to the point. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
So with that said, where's the timer at?
158.40. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. I enjoyed it.
Oh, no problem, Greg. Feel free to, whenever you see a topic you want to join in, that's what we always encourage to come in and give your feedback, your different experiences, because your experiences that may be different from my experiences, and that's how we grow and learn. And other than that, we like to have more. We like to have females on here. We like to have different nationalities. We didn't had over the years. Different people came on and people from all over that joined in. So that's where we're at. We just sitting back, kicking, having a dark conversation. No malice or whatever the case is. So I appreciate it.
30 seconds.
30 seconds, yeah.
All right. Herb, anything quick? Nothing? All right, good people. We out. On to the next one. Sorry to rush off. See you next time. Peace.